Without hesitation, Ethan took the other side of the bed, brushing Lily's curled hair off her damp forehead. "You're okay, sweetheart," he murmured. "Daddy's here." The word daddy slipped out before he realized it, and Clara's breath hitched. Hours passed. Clara refused to sleep. She held Lily whenever the doctors allowed it, whispered soothing words, sang lullabies through trembling lips. Ethan watched her exhaustion, her fear, her unwavering devotion. This wasn't the manipulative woman Veronica had described. This was a mother terrified of losing her child, a woman who loved fiercely, silently, without expecting anything back. At 3 a.m., Clara nearly collapsed while rocking Lily. Ethan gently took the baby from her arms. "Rest for a few minutes," he urged. "No, I can't. What if, I'll hold her," he said firmly. "Trust me." Clara's eyes shone with tears. "I always have." She leaned against his shoulder, too tired to hide her vulnerability. As Lily's fever slowly stabilized, Ethan felt an overwhelming clarity settle in his chest. This moment, this fear, this love, was real, not a manipulation, not a trap. Watching Clara fight through exhaustion and fear to protect their daughter shattered every doubt Veronica had planted, and Ethan realized, even without his memories, his heart already knew where he belonged. Lily was discharged 2 days later, her fever fully under control. Clara held her close as they stepped out of the hospital, exhaustion softening her features, but relief glowing in her eyes. Ethan walked beside them, carrying the diaper bag, ready to take over whenever Clara's arms trembled from fatigue. The moment they reached home, a quiet shift seemed to settle between them, subtle, but unmistakable. Ethan found himself noticing things he hadn't before: the way Clara tucked her hair behind her ear when she concentrated, the soft smile she saved only for Lily, the gentle patience in her voice when she spoke to him, never once demanding that he remember anything he couldn't. That first evening back, Clara tried insisting she would handle everything. "You've done enough," she murmured as she prepared Lily's bottle. "You should rest." But Ethan shook his head. "Let me help." "I want to." She paused, hesitating, surprised, then slowly handed him the bottle. Lily curled easily into his arms, drinking softly while Ethan rocked her, instinct guiding his movements. Clara watched from the doorway, her eyes misting with something fragile and hopeful. The following days unfolded with a new, gentle rhythm. Ethan cooked breakfast while Clara fed Lily. They took turns soothing late-night cries. They laughed, actually laughed, when Lily smeared mashed banana on Ethan's shirt. They talked during quiet evenings, not about the past he couldn't recall, but about small things, favorite movies, silly habits, childhood memories. Clara listened to him like his thoughts mattered. Ethan listened to her like he wanted to memorize every new piece of her, and slowly, the distance between them shrank. One night, while Clara folded baby clothes on the couch, Ethan sat beside her and said softly, "I still don't remember everything. But, being here, with you, feels right." Clara's hand stilled. She looked up, eyes searching his. "Are you saying that because you feel obligated? Or because I feel something," he interrupted gently. "Something real. Something that wasn't forced or manipulated." She blinked back tears. "Ethan, for a long time I thought love was what I remembered with Veronica," he admitted, voice low. "But maybe, what I had with you wasn't erased. Maybe it's just waiting for me to rediscover." Clara exhaled shakily, a soft, trembling smile growing on her lips. For the first time since waking from the coma, Ethan didn't feel lost. He felt drawn, slowly, steadily, toward a woman who, in so many quiet ways, had already proven her heart to him, and he began to believe that the love he once had for Clara wasn't gone at all. It was simply finding its way back. The morning sunlight spilled softly through the kitchen windows as Clara prepared breakfast, humming under her breath while Lily babbled happily in her high chair. Ethan stood beside them, pouring coffee, feeling a rare peace settle through his chest. For the first time since waking from the accident, life felt steady. Warm. Almost whole. He reached out to brush a crumb from Clara's cheek, and she flushed, shy but smiling. Then, knock, knock, knock. 3 sharp blows at the door, urgent enough to cut through the calm. Ethan exchanged a confused glance with Clara before walking toward the entrance. The moment he opened it, his breath caught. Veronica stood on the porch. Her hair was messy, her mascara streaked from crying, her shoulders trembling as though she had run all the way here. When her red, swollen eyes lifted to meet his, they were filled with devastation. "I know," she choked out. "I know everything now." Ethan froze. "Veronica, you're married," she whispered, voice breaking. "You have a daughter." Clara appeared behind him instinctively, as if to protect Lily. Veronica's gaze darted to her, pain flashing like lightning. "So it's true," she murmured, her entire body going rigid. "Everything I didn't want to believe." Ethan stepped partly outside, closing the door enough to shield Clara and Lily from the confrontation. "Veronica, I'm sorry," he began quietly. "I never meant to." "Don't say you're sorry," she snapped, tears spilling again. "Not when you moved on. Not when you built a new life while I was fighting to get mine back." Ethan's chest tightened. "I didn't remember any of it. Not meeting Clara. Not marrying her. Not Lily." "I know," Veronica whispered. "And that's the worst part. You forgot the pain." "I didn't." She reached into her bag with shaking hands and pulled out a stack of documents, old photos, letters, proof of her struggles. "I spent 3 years trying to escape my family. 3 years believing we would find our way back to each other." Ethan swallowed hard. "Veronica, I care about you. I'll always feel something for what we had. But I'm not the same man anymore." Her voice cracked. "You could be. We could still fix this." He shook his head slowly. "I don't want to go back. I want to go forward." Veronica stared at him as if he'd stabbed her. She staggered back a step, breath trembling, eyes filled with shattered hope. "So that's it?" she whispered. "You choose her?" Behind him, he could feel Clara's anxious presence, gentle, steady, and real. "Yes," Ethan said softly but firmly. "I choose my family." A single tear slid down Veronica's cheek as she whispered, barely audible, "Then this isn't over." And with that, the storm that had been quiet for days finally broke again, but this time, Ethan knew exactly where he stood. The world returned to Ethan in fragments, shards of light, blurred silhouettes, and the faint smell of antiseptic. His eyelids felt impossibly heavy, as though they had been sealed shut for years. When he finally managed to open them, the sterile white ceiling of the hospital greeted him. A dull ache pulsed behind his temples, spreading slowly like ripples across still water. Voices stirred around him, muffled at first, then growing clearer. Someone gasped. Someone whispered his name. But none of it made sense, not until he turned his head and saw her. Standing at the foot of his bed was Clara Sutton. Clara Sutton, the untouchable ice queen of their university years. The woman whose calm, elegant indifference had made her both admired and feared. The woman who had once looked at him as though he were invisible. And yet now, impossibly, she stood there with tears trembling at the corners of her normally composed eyes. But that wasn't the part that stole Ethan's breath. In her arms, she was holding a baby. A tiny girl with dark curls and round cheeks, bundled in a soft blanket. And Clara was looking directly at him, not with detachment, not with aloof politeness, but with a mixture of hope and overwhelming relief. "Ethan," she whispered, stepping closer. "Thank God, you're awake." He blinked, confusion twisting in his chest. Why was she here? Why was she holding a baby? Why did her voice sound so heartbreakingly tender, Then Clara said the word that shattered his world. Ethan. I'm so glad you're back. You scared us. You scared me. Welcome back, husband. The word echoed in his mind like an explosion. Husband, her husband. Ethan's breath hitched. The pain in his head sharpened. Memory spiraled, slipping through his fingers like sand. He tried to speak, but his throat tightened, his voice cracking. Husband? Clara, what are you talking about? A doctor stepped in then, confirming the impossible truth. He had been in a coma for 2 weeks, and worse, his memory had regressed 3 years. Ethan stared at Clara, at the baby in her arms, and felt his entire life tilt off its axis. His past was gone. His present was a mystery, and the woman from his forgotten years was calling him her husband. Ethan felt his throat tighten as Clara's words settled into the sterile air of the hospital room. Our daughter? His mind scrambled for something, anything, that made sense. The last memory he had of Clara Sutton was a distant image of her gliding across the university campus with that icy aura, the woman who once looked at him as if he were transparent. And now she stood in front of him, hair slightly messy, dark circles under her eyes, holding a tiny baby with soft curls and wide, curious eyes. This can't be right, Ethan whispered. Clara, we never even talked back then. You hated me. Clara flinched, the hurt flashing across her features before she masked it with practiced calm. That was years ago, Ethan. Things changed. We changed. He shook his head violently. No. The last thing I remember is dating Veronica Shaw. We were planning a trip. I need to call her. She must be worried sick. Clara's brows drew together, her voice cautious. Ethan. I don't know who Veronica is. There's no one named Veronica in your life anymore. The room spun slightly. Ethan gripped the railing of the bed, grounding himself before panic swallowed him whole. How can you not know her? We've been together for almost a year. Clara held Lily closer, almost protectively. 3 years ago, yes. But not now. Ethan's chest tightened again. 3 years. A missing chunk of his life had reshaped everything, his relationships, his memories, his very identity. And Clara was speaking to him as though she were the only constant. The absurdity of it twisted his stomach. Lily let out a soft coo, waving a tiny fist. Ethan's eyes locked onto hers. Something warm flickered inside him, confusing, unfamiliar, but undeniably real. I know this is overwhelming, Clara said softly, stepping closer. But I'm here. I've been here. And Lily, she's yours. Ours. Her voice trembled at the last word. Ethan swallowed hard. His instincts screamed to run, to find Veronica, to piece together the life he remembered. But another part of him, a quieter, deeper part, felt anchored by the sight of this small family he couldn't recall building. I don't understand any of this, he finally said, voice ragged. But I want the truth. All of it. Clara nodded. Then I'll tell you. Everything. And for the first time since waking up, Ethan felt both terrified and strangely hopeful. The door clicked open, and Dr. Patel stepped into the room with a calm professionalism that only unsettled Ethan further. Clara shifted Lily to her other arm and straightened as though bracing herself. Ethan's pulse quickened. Mr. Hayes, the doctor began gently, I know you're feeling disoriented. Let me clarify what's happening. Ethan tried to sit up straighter, despite the dull ache at the back of his skull. Please. I need answers. Dr. Patel pulled up a chair. You suffered a traumatic brain injury during the accident. The swelling has gone down, but one of the effects is retrograde amnesia. You've lost access to approximately the last 3 years of your life. 3 years. The number felt surreal. But why those years? He asked, struggling to find logic in the chaos. It's unpredictable, the doctor replied. Memory loss often affects the most recently formed memories. Older ones remain intact. In your case, everything up to your final year of university is clear. After that, your mind is refusing to retrieve the rest. Ethan exhaled shakily, rubbing his temples. So what you're saying is, I just can't remember my life. My career, my relationships, my marriage. Dr. Patel nodded sympathetically. Not right now. But memory can return. Slowly. Sometimes in fragments. Clara, silent until now, stepped forward. Doctor, he doesn't believe me about us. The doctor reached into a folder and pulled out a document. That's why I brought these. He handed Ethan a crisp sheet of paper. Ethan unfolded it, eyes widening as he read the words marriage certificate. His name. Clara Sutton's name. The date, 2 years ago, his breath caught in his throat. This can't be real. It is, Dr. Patel said gently. You and Clara have been married for 2 years. And your daughter, Lily, was born 8 months ago. Ethan stared at the paper as if it were written in a foreign language. Married. A father. A whole lifetime built without his awareness. His heart pounded in his ears. I don't remember proposing, he whispered. I don't remember loving her. I don't remember any of it. Clara's eyes shimmered. But it happened, Ethan. Every step. The doctor placed a reassuring hand on the bed's railing. What you're feeling is normal. Confusion. Fear. Doubt. But you're not alone in this. And with time, therapy, and support, there's a strong chance your memories will return. Ethan swallowed hard, torn between disbelief and a strange ache of longing for a life he couldn't recall living. Somewhere inside him, a fragile question formed. If I built a family once, could I learn to love them again? The drive from the hospital felt oddly silent, filled only with the soft hum of the engine and the occasional coo from Lily in the back seat. Ethan sat rigidly, staring out the window as familiar streets blurred into unfamiliar ones. Clara glanced at him several times, her expression gentle but cautious, as though afraid any sudden movement might shatter him further. When the car finally stopped in front of a charming little house with pale blue shutters and a white picket fence, Ethan blinked in confusion. This is mine? Clara hesitated. Ours. The word echoed strangely in his mind. Inside, the warmth of the home enveloped him instantly, soft yellow lights, the faint smell of lavender detergent, children's toys neatly stacked in a corner. Everything felt lived in, intimate, full of stories he didn't know. Clara carried Lily to the living room while Ethan slowly wandered through the space. His fingers brushed across framed photographs on the wall, Clara smiling in a summer dress, Ethan holding a newborn Lily with a look of awe, the three of them at the beach. He stared at his own face, happy, relaxed, utterly unrecognizable. Did I really smile like that? He murmured. Clara paused beside him. Every day, she said softly. You love this life. He couldn't bring himself to answer. Upstairs, Clara opened a door to a bedroom with soft gray walls and a neatly made bed. Ethan froze when he saw it, 2 sets of clothes in the wardrobe, their styles harmonizing naturally, matching coffee mugs on the nightstand, a small framed wedding photo on the shelf. I didn't want to pressure you, Clara said carefully, placing clean sheets on the bed. So I'll sleep with Lily in the guest room tonight. You should rest without expectations. Her voice cracked just a little, but she kept her back to him. Ethan inspected the room again, his handwriting on a sticky note attached to her lamp, a pressed flower between the pages of her book, 2 toothbrushes side by side. Evidence of intimacy everywhere. Yet inside his chest, everything felt hollow, like he was trespassing in someone else's life. "Thank you," he finally said, unsure of what else to offer. Clara nodded, clutching Lily a little tighter, then slipped out quietly. When the house fell into silence, Ethan lay on the bed that was supposed to be his sanctuary. He stared at the ceiling, listening to faint baby noises down the hall. This place was home, but to him, it still felt like a stranger's world, one he had somehow built, then forgotten. The next morning, long before Clara or Lily stirred, Ethan slipped downstairs with his phone clenched tightly in his hand. He stared at Veronica's number for a long moment, his thumb trembling before he finally pressed call. The line rang once. Twice. Then a breathless, broken sob answered. "Ethan? Ethan, is that really you?" Her voice hit him like a punch to the chest. Familiar. Emotional. Desperate. "Veronica. I just woke up. I don't remember anything after us. What happened? Why did you disappear?" She cried harder. "I didn't disappear, Ethan. I looked for you for years. You never answered. You changed your number. You blocked me on everything." "What? No, that's not." His world tilted again. "You don't remember," she whispered. 3 years ago. I was forced into a marriage arrangement for my family. I had no choice. I thought I was protecting you. I left money because I didn't want you struggling without me. I thought you'd understand. But you didn't. You walked away from me." His heart twisted violently. "But I wouldn't have." "You did," she said softly. "You told me it was over. And then you vanished." Ethan's breath stuttered. "I'm married now," he admitted, voice cracking. "To Clara." A silence so sharp it felt like glass. Then Veronica whispered, "I know." The call ended with no closure, just pain. Feeling the walls closing in, Ethan grabbed his keys and drove to see the one person he trusted more than anyone, Jack. Jack opened the door with a startled expression. "Ethan? Jesus, man, you look like you've seen a ghost." "I need the truth," Ethan rasped. "Everything." Jack hesitated, then sighed heavily. "Come in. You're not going to like this." Over 2 cups of untouched coffee, Jack revealed the pieces Ethan had been missing. "Yes, Veronica left," Jack said. "Family pressure. Money. Obligations. She tried to fix it, but you were destroyed. You shut her out completely." Ethan shook his head, unable to imagine himself doing any of that. "Then Clara happened," Jack continued. "She helped you get back on your feet. You chased her, Ethan. Hard. You proposed after a year. And when Lily was born, you cried like a baby." Jack pulled up Ethan's social media, photos of vacations, holidays, baby milestones, a life overflowing with love. Ethan's vision blurred. He felt split between 2 worlds, the past he remembered, and the future he had already lived. "I don't know who I am anymore," he whispered. Jack placed a hand on his shoulder. "Then start by meeting the man you became." When Ethan returned home that evening, his mind still heavy with Jack's revelations, he found Clara in the living room, gently rocking Lily in her arms. The warm lamplight framed her face, softening the exhaustion etched into her features. She hummed a lullaby under her breath, a melody Ethan didn't recognize but somehow found comforting. For a moment, he simply watched. There was something disarming about her tenderness, the way she calmed Lily with nothing but her presence. The Clara he remembered from university would never have smiled like this, never have leaned her cheek against a baby's tiny forehead as though the world was made of fragile light. When she looked up and saw him, she gave a small, hesitant smile. "Welcome home." Home. The word brushed against something inside him. Over the next few days, Ethan found himself quietly observing more than participating. Clara moved through their routines with practiced grace, changing diapers, warming bottles, soothing Lily's cries, while he stood nearby like a time traveler trying to decode a distant era. But gradually, almost without noticing, he began stepping in first, holding the baby bottle when Clara's hands were full, then learning how to change diapers, awkwardly at first, earning a rare giggle from Clara when he put the diaper on backward. Then washing dishes, folding laundry, sweeping the living room. While Clara napped with Lily on her chest, little acts at first. Almost instinctive. One evening, while Clara rested, he wandered into the study and found a stack of books on her desk: Cognitive Rehabilitation After Brain Injury, Understanding Memory Trauma, Therapeutic Techniques for Amnesia Patients, dog-eared pages, sticky notes filled with her handwriting, medical articles bookmarked. She had been studying tirelessly, for him. Ethan picked up one of the books, his throat tightening. He imagined Clara staying up late while he slept, memorizing treatments, desperate to help him recover the pieces of a life she cherished and he couldn't recall. When she appeared at the door, startled to see him reading, Ethan could only say, "You've been doing all this, for me?" Clara flushed, looking away. "I just want you to get better. Even if you never remember us." Something inside him cracked open. He stepped closer, lowering his voice. "Clara, I don't remember the past. But I'm starting to feel something now." Her breath hitched. "Feel what?" He didn't have a perfect answer, only a growing warmth, a soft ache pulling him toward her, toward Lily, toward the life he had forgotten but was slowly rediscovering. "Like I'm finding my way back," he whispered. Ethan chose a quiet cafe on the edge of town, a place neutral enough that it didn't belong to either of his lives, neither the one he remembered with Veronica nor the one he had built with Clara. He arrived early, hands trembling around the coffee cup, unsure whether he was about to close a door or reopen an old wound. Veronica appeared 10 minutes later. She looked thinner than he remembered, her eyes rimmed with exhaustion. The moment she sat down, she grabbed his hands tightly, as if afraid he might vanish again. "Ethan, thank you for meeting me," she whispered, voice already shaking. He gently pulled his hands back. "I came because I need clarity. And closure." Veronica inhaled sharply, then began recounting her story with trembling fury. She spoke of her powerful, controlling family, the arranged marriage she tried to escape, how they locked her inside their estate for weeks, how they took her phone, cut off all communication, and forced her into obedience. Tears streamed down her face as she continued, "Ethan, I didn't leave you because I wanted to. I was trapped. And when I finally got free, you were gone." Ethan felt a pang of sympathy, but also confusion. "Jack said I pushed you away." "I didn't want you dragged into my nightmare," she insisted. "I begged your father to help me reach you, but Clara," her expression darkened. Clara interfered. Ethan blinked. "Clara?" "Yes." Veronica leaned closer, lowering her voice to a venomous whisper. "She seduced you when you were vulnerable. She took advantage of your grief. People at the hospital said she drugged you one night. And that pregnancy, Ethan, she used that to trap you." Ethan's breath caught. The accusation struck like icy water. "No," he murmured instinctively, though doubt flickered at the edges of his mind. Veronica reached across the table, cupping his cheek. "Ethan, you were supposed to build a life with me. We were supposed to fight together. And we still can." Her eyes glistened with desperate hope. "Leave her. Leave Clara. Come with me. We can fix everything." The words hung heavy between them. Ethan's heart thundered painfully. He wanted truth, real truth. But between two conflicting stories, each soaked in pain and sincerity, he felt split in half once more. Finally, he whispered, "Veronica, I don't know what to believe." She gripped his hand again, trembling. "Believe me, Ethan. Believe what we had. But in the back of his mind, a soft image surfaced: Clara reading medical books late at night, Lily's tiny hand gripping his finger, warmth that felt painfully real, and Ethan realized the choice ahead of him could reshape his life all over again. Ethan was still sitting in his car outside the cafe, torn and exhausted, when his phone rang. Clara's name flashed on the screen. The moment he answered, all he heard was panic. "Ethan, Lily, she's burning up, 40 degrees, I'm taking her to the hospital." Her voice broke mid-sentence. Ethan didn't think. He didn't question. He simply ran, into his car, onto the road, through red lights, driven by something deeper than memory, deeper than doubt. By the time he burst into the pediatric ward, Clara was pacing the hallway, hair disheveled, eyes red from crying. When she saw him, she didn't speak. She just collapsed into his arms. "It's okay," he whispered, holding her tight without thinking. "I'm here. I'm here." A nurse led them to Lily's room. Their tiny daughter lay on the hospital bed, a cold compress on her forehead, wires attached to her little body. Her breaths were shallow. Her skin was too pale. Ethan felt something rupture inside him at the sight. Clara sat beside Lily, stroking her arm gently. "She started getting warm a few hours ago. I thought it was teething, then she wouldn't stop crying. Her temperature spiked so fast, her voice cracked. I thought I might lose her."